I've always been impressed and inspired knowing that Journeys offers scholarships to youth who couldn't otherwise afford to participate in such an important life-changing adventure. I believe it's our responsibility as a community and as a society to make these opportunities available for youth who hear the call to embark on a rite of passage experience. These youth who are asking to take this experience should not be denied of this selfless opportunity. As a guide for Journeys, I've been awed by the integrity and readiness of the youth who are able to participate on a trip because of the commitment and dedication of their community.
My solo, I loved my solo time, actually. It was very introspective, which is different when you're 14. You don't do a lot of introspection when you're just getting into those years. But there was one flower, the only flower I ever saw on the beach the entire time we were there. Was this little purple flower, and it happened to be in the middle of my campsite. And so I told my life story to this flower. And then I ended up moving wood and didn't notice it because it was dark, and I ended up smushing the little flower. And so I moved all the stuff back in the morning, and I almost cried because I smushed the flower that now I had told my life story to, and I was like, oh. But it was really meaningful because it wasn't the fact, like, the flower still lived, it was just a little crumpled. So it was interesting to me because when you look at your life, you realize that it's a little bit crumpled too, but the flower was still standing there, and I hope that, I could do the same. I learned how to be a leader on that trip, actually. I think part of it was because I was one of the older ones on the group, but part of it was because I wanted to. And so on the days that you guys were gone, the day that we ran it ourselves, and they elected me the leader, I was really, really shocked. But that day taught me a lot about what being a leader actually meant. Because it wasn't just like, okay, you lead the group. I spent half the day in the back of the pack holding the hands of two other girls so that they would keep up over the rocks on the beach because it was trickier than in the forest. And so that changed my perspective a lot because I was leading them, but I was leading the ones who really needed it in a way that they needed. I'm pretty sure I flipped sides on the patience thing because I don't have younger siblings, and I've always been the younger sibling, which doesn't come with a lot of patience because you don't really have to be. And I've never been put into a situation like that where you had to be so patient because I was always at like the front, but I never felt the need to wait. But on that trip, even when we would split up into groups for like the hikes for the people who walked a little bit faster, we still would only walk a little ways and then we'd wait for them to catch up. And that was one of the hardest things for me because there were things that I wanted to see and there was still more of the forest and I didn't want to be eating in the dark again. But it taught me a lot because you don't really have a choice there because you're a team and you're living together for 3 weeks with people that you don't really know. And so you have to be patient and you have to be kind, and it forces you into being the person that you want to be perceived as, because you can't fake it for 3 weeks with people. Like, you can make a good first impression, but it won't last for 3 weeks if you're not genuine. I think one of the greatest challenges was just taking it as it came and not being in control, because I was so prepared. I had a watch so I would know where I was and what was going on, and then the first day they asked who had a watch and then they took them. So then I didn't have that, and so I didn't know where I was because I'd never been on that mountain before. I didn't know how far we were gonna go. I didn't have a map. I didn't know what time it was. So I think it was the giving up control, and it was really fun because then you could just enjoy it, but it took a couple days for me to get into that mindset of don't worry about it, just go with it.